When I say, who's the master, you say, Dr. Kaba, Hiawatha, Kamene.
Our people are wonderful. Our children are sterling. We must never give up hope on them. But first, we can't give up hope on ourselves. And that's the first thing that we need to talk about, really and realistically. And this evening, I would like to do it in a way that walks us through a process to help us understand who we are as a people. We are darkness. We are darkness, but we are dark light. You see, in the heavens, you have dark matter, dark energy. What happens is that there's much more dark energy than there is dark matter. Dark matter condenses in on itself, and the energy is pushing the dark matter in on itself, in on itself, in on itself, until there is no longer space in that dark matter. And when there is no longer space, the only place to go is out. So it implodes, and it creates an explosion through implosion, and that's the birth of stars. Stars are born, they're called nanodiamonds. Stars are born out of blackness. Stars are crystallized dark matter. You come down to Earth, you have a substance known as coal. Coal is black. Carbon. Coal is put under pressure. A lot of pressure. Deep pressure. The strongest, I noticed it, because I saw this in Superman. And he had that super strength. And he just condensed this piece of black coal. And all of a sudden he opened up his hand. And it was a diamond. No, it's coal. See, kryptonite was what he was scared of.
That's right.
You see, I mean, kryptonite brought him down. Okay. And you see, what's interesting about kryptonite is that it's green. So now I can talk to you about a star, but I'm going to leave that alone for a while. What can bring Superman down? Resurrection.
The Egyptians thought in terms of symbols rather than objects. Now that's a cornerstone to our understanding. Our minds, our children's minds, think in symbols. We are a symbolic thinking people. We are metaphor. Asa Hilliard, who was one of the editors and co-conveners of this curriculum, once I remember said, and I have to look this word up, he said that figurative language was ubiquitous to African thought. Our young people would say it's all up in here. In other words, in every facet of the atom of whatever is made up, the metaphor is there. Figurative language is there. When you look at what we've done in English, we have literally changed the structure of the way we speak in order to speak the way in which we think. So that when something becomes so good, and we don't have a word for that thing that's so good, we jump out the box and say that's bad. Our children say that's dope. There are many different ways that we express ourselves in the metaphor. Because if you didn't know what the metaphor for being bad was, you wouldn't understand what it was that we were saying. so that symbols become very important to the African thought process. And that's one of the things that we're trying to bring back to our understanding, that when you're looking at something, so that it's not so much the literal letters that you're reading that's going to access the information. Dr. Edlin goes on to say, symbolism is an intuitive means of overcoming the limitations of brain-centered reason. Symbolism does not merely count what the five senses can detect. It creates a new relationship between inner knowing and external analysis. When we're in classroom, when we are teaching our children, and when our children are learning, when we are in classrooms learning, this dynamic of symbolism plays a very important role to us. Because many times we sit in the audience and we're not so much listening to the words that the person's speaking, we're creating images around what the person is saying. So therefore, when we go back home and we're recollecting what's being talked about, many times we don't recall the words as much as we recall the images. So that we are a visual people. We are a people who take what's said and turn it into an image. When it becomes an image, then that's what we bring into the recesses of our consciousness. So that when we want to recall that incident, we don't recall the words, we recall the image. When you do that, you can take thousands of words and make one image. So therefore, when you look at the brilliance of our African ancestors and all the things that they were able to do on such a simplistic level, or as complex as it was, they didn't live a literal life. European objective linear thought consciously excludes any relationship to the unseen or spiritual dimension of life. But in the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing, we receive a whole complex of abstract, intuitive states of being, as well as material facts, which are not so much described as experienced in symbolism. We see not the effects, but the cause. We experience non-polarized expressions of the will or the spirit, not mere sequential sense reports based only in the limited perceptions of the human. Now, as teachers, when we go in the classrooms, we have to go in thinking that. We have to go in knowing that our children really aren't so much picking up what we say as much as how we can create an image in the way we say it, so they can then access that information. Our ancestors were aware of the speed of light long before Einstein. They were aware before Max Planck of the quantum theory. And it's not a matter of superiority or inferiority, it's just a matter of primacy. Our children are taught that they have not contributed anything to this civilization. And when we start talking about what we've accomplished, they start calling that a feel-good curriculum. But the bottom line I've often said is that had you not created such a feel-bad curriculum, we wouldn't need a feel-good curriculum to neutralize all the negativity that you put towards us. What happens linguistically and psychologically to our minds when we take that word black that in this society has made it to be everything bad, and we ascribe it or we say it to ourselves. And this is what our children are experiencing. We have to look at melanin. We have to study melanin. If you can't tell me anything about melanin, if you're studying organic life and you don't know the role of melanin, it is equivalent to studying auto mechanics and you're never taught the role of gasoline in the car. Because gasoline is to a car what melanin is to organic life. And the reason why that is because of carbon. And carbon, when it coagulates on the planet, it's black. And this is not a figment of an imagination. This is real science. This is why they stopped Diop from examining the mummies in Paris. Because he was finding out too much about the mummies. But more importantly, he was finding out about the principles of melanin. Melanin is a molecule. What's important about melanin is not that you have it, because everybody has it. If you didn't have melanin in your eyes, you wouldn't see. If you didn't have melanin in your ears, you couldn't hear. If you didn't have melanin in your bones would become deformed. If you didn't have melanin in your organs, they would not function. So you have melanin all over. This is the African model of education. Instead of having your subject areas, what they did was that they took an entire symbolic system of letters and numbers and meanings, and what they did is that they put all the subject areas according to that model and not the model that we have. But you see, linear thinking can only break things up the way in which we're learning in our classrooms today. With a math book, and break the math book up, and you have the arithmetic, and you have addition, subtraction, multiplication. You know, when you multiply, you divide. When you do a multiplication table, you're automatically doing a division table. When you do an addition table, you're automatically doing a subtraction table. When you're doing one, you're doing the other, which goes back to the law of polarity. It goes back to twinness amongst the Dogon. So you're automatically doing it. It's already the yin and the yang. It's already all of that already. So that when we learn on that level, so our wave of learning comes this way and not what's happening in our classrooms today. It's not that our children are illiterate, it's that the teachers are illiterate to the manner of teaching to the children that they're teaching to. My concern is education, and my concern is our children. My concern is that what we're doing to our children is so opposite what they need. Even if we think we're doing the right thing, with our hearts in the right place, if you don't know, you can't do.
And it's important that we change the way we think about ourselves. These are the kinds of things that we have to start to think about fundamentally and begin to change the way we're thinking. It's not just about all this information. That's why I think many times we're not successful, because we think it's all about just learning about the Dogon, learning about the Moors. No, it's more than that. It's about becoming a Moor. It's becoming a Dogon. Not going back 2,000 years. Our ancestors built the pyramids very excellently. I don't want to build more pyramids, but the mathematics and the science that built the pyramids can be applied to build our There's a problem. The only thing that Europeans invented was the patent. Because they stole everybody's idea and put their name on it. And as a people, as we view this Wizard of Oz, this large projection of a small man, we create an illusion. We have not fallen. The fact that we're here right now, we are still rising. But because they have constantly told us what we can't do, even when we're being supremely successful, we believe we are still failing. It's all in the mind, the mind, the mind, the mind. Don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to make you believe it. I just want to make you think. I just want to take you out of your comfort level of accepting the okie and think. Think about what our children deserve. Our children deserve better than what we give them. And while we're talking about this rap music and everything else, well, who let that happen? We let that happen. We should have been on post. But now that it's happened, now that it's there, let us do all that we can do for our children.